Thank you. I want to talk with you about 3 fatal flaws in the nuclear deal with Iran. The most important point I have to make today is this. The nuclear deal with Iran doesn't block Iran's path to the bomb. It actually paves Iran's path to the bomb. Worse, it gives Iran 2 paths to the bomb. Iran can get to the bomb by keeping the deal, or Iran could get to the bomb by violating the deal. First, let's understand how Iran gets to the bomb by keeping the deal. See, the deal allows Iran to maintain and eventually expand a vast and increasingly sophisticated nuclear infrastructure. This infrastructure is unnecessary for civilian nuclear energy, but it's entirely necessary for nuclear weapons. Astonishingly, the deal gives Iran's illicit nuclear program full international legitimacy. If Iran keeps the deal, in a decade or so, at most 15 years, the main restrictions on this vast nuclear program will expire. They'll just end. The deal's limitations on the number of centrifuges Iran has and on the quantity of uranium Iran enriches, those restrictions will be lifted. And at that point, Iran will be able to produce the enriched uranium for an entire arsenal of nuclear weapons. And it could produce that arsenal very quickly. After 15 years, Iran's breakout time will be practically 0, just a few days. I think President Obama said as much in an interview with NPR. By keeping the deal, Iran will become a threshold nuclear weapons power. The deal does make it harder for Iran to produce 1 or 2 nuclear weapons in the short term, but it does so at a terrible price, because the deal makes it far easier for Iran to build dozens, even hundreds of nuclear weapons in a little over a decade. Now, 10 to 15 years pass in no time. We're told that this deal buys us time, but 10 to 15 years is no time at all. So by keeping the deal, Iran can get within a decade or so, not just to 1 bomb, but to many bombs. But Iran has a second path to the bomb, one that would give it a nuclear weapon in far less time. You see, Iran could violate the deal, and there's good reason to think that Iran will do so, that it will cheat. They've done it before, they'll do it again. But they argue that Iran will be prevented from cheating because we'll have good intelligence and unprecedented inspections. Well, let me start with intelligence. I have the greatest respect for Israel's intelligence capabilities. I have the greatest respect for the intelligence services of the United States and Great Britain. But it has to be said honestly. For years, none of us discovered the massive underground nuclear facilities Iran was building at Fordow and at Natanz. So I can tell you from experience, it's very precarious to bet the deal's success on intelligence. Now, what about inspections? Neither intelligence nor inspections prevented North Korea from building atomic bombs, despite assurances that they wouldn't be able to do so. And while the deal with Iran allows for ongoing inspections of Iran's declared sites, what about Iran's secret nuclear activities? See, if a facility under the deal, if a facility is suspected of housing hidden nuclear activity, inspectors must wait at least 24 days. That's 24 days before getting access to those suspected sites. Not only that, the inspectors must first share with Iran the critical intelligence that led them to suspect the sites in the first place. That's actually astounding. Some have said that 24 days is not long enough to conceal evidence of illicit nuclear activity. But as leading experts have pointed out, 24 days is more than enough time to clean up a site of all traces of illicit activity. Now, here's the thing. Everybody in the Middle East knows what I've just said. And the countries in the region threatened by Iran have already made clear that they will work to develop atomic bombs of their own. So the deal that was supposed to end nuclear proliferation will actually trigger nuclear proliferation. It will trigger an arms race, a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, the most volatile part of the planet. That's a real nightmare. But the deal's dangers don't end there. See, the deal gives Iran also a massive infusion of cash. And Iran will use this cash to fund its aggression in the region and its terrorism around the world. As a result of this deal, there'll be more terrorism, there'll be more attacks, and more people will die. And that would turn any terrorist group sponsored by Iran into a terrorist superpower. So for all these reasons, Iran's two paths to the bomb and the cash jackpot Iran stands to receive, for all these reasons, this is a very dangerous deal. And it threatens all of us. So this is not a partisan issue in Israel. It shouldn't be a partisan issue in the United States either. Nor is it a personal issue. This isn't about me, and it's not about President Obama. It's about the deal. Judge the deal on its substance, and on its substance alone. The more people know about the deal, the more they oppose it. Israelis are going to be the ones who pay the highest price if there's war and if Iran gets the bomb. Because it's we who are on the front lines. We face Iran's terror on 3 borders. We face tens of thousands of Iranian rockets aimed at all our cities. We face Iran, whose regime repeatedly calls for the destruction of the Jewish state. We face Iran, whose terrorist proxies try to kill Jews every day. I represent the Israeli public. About 70% of the Israeli public agrees with me about the deal. Iran's Arab neighbors, most of them, also agree with me. Recent polls suggest that most of the American public agrees with the Israeli public. They see the anti-American and anti-Israeli rallies in Tehran. They see our flags burnt in the streets. They hear the chants of death to America, death to Israel. They see Iran's terrorist regime continue to develop intercontinental ballistic missiles. I want to make it clear to you. Iran is not building these ballistic missiles, these ICBMs, to hit Israel. They already have missiles that can hit Israel everywhere. They're building these ICBMs to hit you, to hit the United States. You're the great Satan. We're just a small Satan. Iran's dictator, Ayatollah Khamenei, he just published a book in which he called again for the destruction of Israel. Not in a statement, a press release, in a book. He says in recent speeches that despite the deal, Iran's #1 enemy is still the United States of America, and that Iran's conflict with America will continue after the deal. And this deal will bring war. It will spark a nuclear arms race in the region, and it would feed Iran's terrorism and aggression. That would make war perhaps the most horrific war of all. So here's the bottom line of everything that I've said today. Don't let the world's foremost terrorist regime get its hands on the world's most dangerous weapons. Oppose this bad deal.